This is a long journey, tough, painful, and filled with lessons. It's more than just a game. It's a journey into manhood. She tried to push me off, but miserably failed. It never fails to amaze me how little awareness the train drivers seem to have. It takes forever before they think of stopping. I went ahead to scout the area, and the girls eventually moved the train. The first interactions within a newly formed team are always delicate, full of uncertainty, caution, and the quiet testing of boundaries. We continued moving and stopping to loot. One of the girls was wounded, inevitably. And had to be rescued. I ran as fast I could, but the train left. I was able to take the wounded girl back to the train and revived her. I then returned to the town to meet up with the other girls, and soon enough they were already dying. Once in the bank, the girls entertained themselves with the safe. At this point, I knew I had to get used to my teammates dying over and over. I carried one back to the train, only to discover another, wounded and crawling desperately ahead. The girls eventually all returned. The girls spent the whole day arguing like it was a competitive sport, mean, loud, and impressively unproductive. And naturally, it got dark. We finally arrived at the first outpost in the morning. The team was still missing coordination. Just outside the outpost, one of the girls had already stormed into the fort, waiting, slightly annoyed, for the others to catch up. Despite their complete lack of coordination, the team fought with everything they had. I stepped outside only to find the girls lounging in the sun, totally carefree and oblivious to everything happening around them. All of them had to be revived. This girl seems to think that bandages grow on trees or something. We were still just outside the first outpost, and the girls spent the entire night doing absolutely nothing. Well, except for one who decided it was the perfect time for a wardrobe change.
Girl, are you a girl, bro?
The team was still figuring each other out, each moment revealing a little more about themselves. We reached the next town. One of the girls had fallen already. Then another one. By now, only one of the girls was still alive. She was hiding on the train, but the vampires got her. It was a brutal night. Zombies, vampires, and werewolves swarmed me like guardians of chaos, desperate to keep me from saving the girls. But in the end, I made it. We all got back on the train, ready to continue the journey, but some insisted on jumping off while others refused to stop the train. Chaos as usual. It really is. No matter how chaotic or petty things get, there's always that moment where a bit of teamwork and care starts to shine through. It's oddly wholesome amidst the madness. The girls argued but made up, and we finally reached the second outpost. They spent all night at the outpost, and I lost my patience, so I went ahead. I was clearing the town for them to just come and grab it all, but they abandoned me. They were sure they could make it to Mexico without me, but, as always, they were wrong. So I ran behind the train, mile after mile, until I caught up. Maybe it was the lack of fuel, or maybe they finally realized they needed me. But something changed, and so did their attitude. Another outpost was reached, and I went ahead while the girls slept. And after having cleared another town this time, the girls stopped by. They were all very happy and motivated. While I waited for the train to move, one of them got a little too flirty with the dynamite. The explosion was loud, but the shame was louder. She left the game in silence. At this stage, just 2 girls were left, but naturally the drama clung to them like a curse. They began fighting over the mysterious death of the horse. Things were getting serious. One of the girls had drawn her shotgun, and the tension thickened like fog on the tracks. In an attempt to diffuse the tension, I told them one of the girls had returned and that I was going to save her, hoping it would shift their focus before things escalated further. The girl was so far behind that it took me forever to reach her and bring her back to the train, but in the end, I made it. Back on the train and moving, the girls spotted the castle and decided to raid it in the morning. Guns were provided for all the ladies. The youngest of the girls was too eager to enter the castle. It was a tough lesson for the girl. One that she refused to learn. There were too many werewolves and vampires for me to keep up healing them. All 3 were down now. I took care of all the werewolves and vampires while the girls patiently waited. The castle was cleared, so I left them all the loot and went back to the outpost. Why was I surprised? They were dead again. Babysitting can be exhausting and disheartening, but I have a lot of respect for those who don't give up. After they had taken everything they could, we were able to go back to the train. It became routine for them to waste entire days at outposts, so I went on ahead, like always, and eventually they caught up. Another town was ahead of us, and some were eager to be revived again. They gave up on the idea of looting the town and wisely got back on the train. In the morning, Dynamite Girl had yet another oops moment. Some people just shouldn't be trusted with explosives. Her friends wasted no time picking up her belongings, then gave a bunch of excuses to hide the embarrassment. After all the pain and struggles, it was finally time to pick up the pace and get the girls to Mexico. At the next outpost, I spent all my money on coal, and we were ready. They thought it would be better to waste another whole day at the outpost playing with metal sheets. I was not willing to wait. Dynamite Girl had disconnected from the game, but would later return. Only one outpost left by now. Dynamite Girl returned to the game as we reached the bridge. I told them they could have all the bonds in the houses, enough for both of them so that they wouldn't fight each other. After watching so many players rush in and drop like flies, I told them to hang back, but excitement got the better of them. Despite my efforts to clear the outpost before the team entered, they ignored me. Yet somehow, only one of them ended up dead. And, in the end, only one gave up. The other 3 made it to Mexico, but more importantly, they became men. Through chaos and pain, they endured. They learned, they struggled, one of them even grew a beard, and eventually they returned home, wiser, tougher, and slightly more respectable.